5:30 on a Monday. That means two things, hopefully two things. That work's done, and it's time to review a big round of footy, and all the betting happened in between. Zach Toohey, Kate McCarthy, my best friend, close confidant in Nathan Brown. Let's jump straight to it without further ado. Who were the winners this week?
Me. Going to the number one rated player in the game right now, and that is Ed Richards. 7 of his last 7, he's had 25 plus.
We've got Lockie Whitfield, 30 plus. I like him. Nice price too, $2.20.
Danger in his big milestone game. Loves playing against the Lions. 3 of his last 5, he's kicked multiple goals. It's a very tasty price.
I'm going Sam Darcy 3 plus. Ha ha ha!
The Void Machine's back on track.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's have a look at the standings right now. And this is going to be changed for next week. So we're going to put $10 on each. Right now, we're going a little bit of golf scoring, but it's not quite golf, it's reverse golf. So don't get excited, Zach. On mine.
I could have done $1.02 if that was the way we're going to score.
No. There was a graphics issue, so there was one issue there, but we are going to be going on.
Whose fault is this? Who are we blaming?
I'm not going to blame anyone in this one.
Yeah.
All I know is that I should have gone Sam Darcy for 4 or 5. Zach, potentially Zach. But the only loser, Void, of course, got unlucky. It would have won. Whitfield would have done.
So would I still be on $10 then? Because I'd get my $10 back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, Void, you with the judges.
Yeah, good.
The $10 each week.
I'm not going to lose my money.
No. I don't know. Sometimes it can be a tough game sometimes. But let's jump right into it. Ed Richards at his dominant best. We're looking at 9 of the last 10 games, 25 plus. He was 27 and a goal here. It just looks too easy for the redhead.
And he kicked the goal 8 times in a row as well. So look, we've spoken to Horny about him. The fact that he wins the ball at the coalface and then he's able to break tackles, get out of spaces like he does, and he's just an attacking weapon at the moment. So I like him. He does the job. He's the best player in the game at the moment, and he plays with Marcus Bontempelli and Sam Darcy, so that's saying something when he is the number one rated player in the competition, and you've got those two players.
You guys are very big on ball usage and all that sort of stuff, and the closer that I watch games, I can sometimes be a surface level. If you ask me who's one of the best players in the competition, I'll say Bailey Smith, someone, anyone who just hacks it forward.
Is that footy or just life?
Just general life. I'm surface level. Don't get too deep. Don't overcomplicate it. But you see the way that he moved the ball. Now, of course, it's Richmond, but he's unbelievable, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think obviously you got up with your Sam Darcy bet, and when we have a look at his highlights from the weekend, I think you'll note how good the ball use to him was. So Bailey-Dale at times, Bontempelli, just that finish from his left to start with is better than most people on their preferred leg. But putting the ball to space, so we see here Richards lacing him out. Obviously, Richmond defence absolutely nowhere to be seen, but I think you've got to give credit to the mids of the Western Bulldogs to allow Sam Darcy to kick the ball the way that he has been and hit the scoreboard the way he has been because of their ball use going towards him.
They don't have lines for goal kicking the same way we do disposal-wise, but if you were framing up a market week to week for Sam Darcy, where's your goal line at the moment?
I reckon you're starting at 3.5. I reckon 3.5 overs or unders, that is probably where you start. Yep. But yeah, it would be an interesting market for someone like Sam Darcy, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's maximum impact. So you talk about Ed Richards, the reason he's ranked so high is because everything he does ends up in a score. It does feel like right now Sam Darcy is just about as unplayable as a forward has been in a very long time. So other key forwards in the game, your Jezzes, they have a way of playing. He's the athletic type. I'm just not sure what type of defender you put on Sam Darcy to stop him.
Well, this week he's going to get Tom McCartan. The Swans are on absolute fire at the moment, charging themselves. Talk about market movers, 250 into 150, I believe.
Talk
for the
about
Premiership.
jumping on after a week.
But Tom Carton has not yet this year been towed up by a key forward. No. He's going to get the job on Darcy.
What about Tom McCartan?
Tom McCartan as well has not yet been towed up by a key forward. Are you willing to take Darcy again this week?
Yeah.
Oh, look, if he's low 3.5, so he's $1.70 for 3 goals last week, so the markets would suggest that around the right price. So you'd have to start at 3. Happy to take him for 3, and I'd take Ed Richards for 25 plus again. The big thing is, who does James Jordan tag? Yep. I think it has to be Ed Richards. So there is a buyer beware around Ed Richards this week with James Jordan tagging.
You avoid this week with Whitfield, but it did let the leash off Stringer a little bit.
Yeah, it did, and I think this show last year, I think I had about 4 or 5 Friday night multis, and every single time the player got voided. But it did allow Jake Stringer into the game. Lockie Whitfield, he had 4 in the first quarter, then got subbed out with concussion. But Jake Stringer, he ended up being the match winner for the Giants. Went forward. When he was approaching that footy just then, I thought he was going to do both of his Jake Stringers, but he ended up being fine, getting through and slotting the goal. But yeah, I was a bit flat when I saw that Lockie Whitfield got subbed out.
Brownie, you've been on the receiving end of some bad beats so far this
Had a
week.
good
Did you have
one this
another
week.
one?
Had a good one
A win?
because had a good one. Adam Chera at one stage
It
was a
was
good
good.
one. He had one disposal when I looked at it quarter time. He was going like a
give it up.
busted. And then at half time, he'd only had about 8 Adam Chera, but he slowly got going. And then I'd given up all hope because he had 22 with about 2.5 minutes to go. And then this is the last 2 seconds. Have a look at that. Bang on the buzzer for 25 touches. He played awful, but thank God, Adam Chera, I love you. How good's that?
Oh, I tell you, just really
He
enthused
was
yourself.
awful all game. But he got the last kick for 25 and I love him.
About time the gambling gods shone on that little
Yeah.
forehead of yours. Kate, your takeaway from this weekend?
Yeah, my takeaway is that Freo are still well and truly alive to make the top 4. So they've won their last 5. Let's have a look at their games that are to come. They've got St Kilda next week at Optus, Sydney at the SCG, and then the Hawks, which is at home. So I think in the next sort of 3 weeks, they could be on an 8-game winning streak.
Make their move.
They will, and I think we'll have a chat to Hoyne about their prospects, but I think he is well in support of that as well.
Their remaining schedule sits right in the middle when we talk strength of schedule for remaining games. So there's certainly a live chance. What was your takeaway?
Takeaway is the gift that keeps on giving is the Western Bulldogs midfield. So let's look at them, and Ed Richards heads it up. Marcus Bontempelli, 8 of his last 10 games, 20 plus. Liberatore, 7 of his last 10. Ed Richards, 9. And Matthew Kennedy, the Bison, 8 of his last 10, 25 plus.
How do you get the bison?
Well, his hairline's very, very low down there, like a bison.
Do bisons have a hairline? I kind of think they're just
Yes,
hair
it's
all
very
over.
low.
Yeah.
Just told you.
Very low hair, mate.
All the way
I
down.
told you that.
All the way down to the hoof. What about you, Zach?
You've got a couple of weeks to get on Logan Morris. Now, their fixture stiffens up big time in the back half of the year, but they've got the bye this week and then they have a couple of very winnable games. So if you're looking at goals in this Brisbane team who need to bank wins when they can because it is a difficult run home, look at Logan Morris. So he is absolutely nailed on the go-to guy in that front half. 5 goals back-to-back.
Yeah,
It's pretty
impressive.
good. With the loss of
Who was the
Joe,
last person to do that?
Matthew Lloyd back in
At his
the
age, that is. At his
youngest.
age. Yes.
Yeah, that's
Youngest.
right. Since Matthew Lloyd back in the 777.
1997 it is.
That's who I like. Let's jump over to Magnet Movers. Oh, it is a sad and sparse week for the Magnet Movers, which is maybe a good sign. Everything in AFL land is perfect, nothing needs to change, but there has been one in Harry Himmelberg.
Yes, and the reason it has needed to change is because Sam Taylor, unfortunately, everything hasn't been perfect for him. He is out with an injury, so Himmelberg was the one that they rotated. They'd been playing that tall winger, so he'd been getting forward and then rolling all the way back as that +1 on the wing for most of the season, but they've had to shift him, obviously, to get that size back in defence. So he is the one real Magnet mover for this week.
Only one mover there, but there has been movers throughout all the markets. The Premiership market, Collingwood sitting at $3.75 previous round, still currently sitting at $3.75.
The move of Brisbane, though. The Brisbane move has
Big
been
time.
big. So Gold Coast are out at the moment. The Western Bulldogs didn't move, so obviously you've factored in the fact that you win by 79 points over the Tigers, and Collingwood's factored in as well. So Brisbane, the big movers.
Outside those top 4, you were big on the Gold Coast early in the season. Is there any value in anybody outside of those top 4 teams there?
I still think there's value in Adelaide. I think if Adelaide can get themselves going and they can get themselves in top 4 with a double chance, they could do anything in September. They could lose by 10 goals, they could win a final by 10 goals. That's Adelaide. They've got a very good defensive profile, as Hoyndog has told us.
And looking at the Coleman medal market, I think it is time that I concede a defeat. I'm off Jesse Hogan. Jezza, he just looks to be getting better and better. We spoke to him post-game and he reckoned he had an absolute shocker. He kicked 4. He kicked 4 goals and thought
He's done
he
that a
was
few
all-
times
In
this year.
his defence, he's had a couple of one against Carlton. He got them all late.
I've seen
Yeah.
him. He played games this year where he stunk it up
Yeah.
for 3.5 and finished with 5.
Yeah,
So,
he was absolutely flat, and I thought, well, you know what? You're 48 goals for the season now. Don't be flat, Jezza. You're all right.
Easy schedule coming up. 8 goals clear, still sitting at $1.67. I still think there is meat on the bone at $1.67 there. Brownlow tracker.
Meat on the bone at
Meat on the bone.
$1.67.
That's what I want. I want-
Not
if I
much
wanted
meat left, mate.
chicken drumstick,
Not
that's
much
still
meat
meat on
left.
the
But I
bone.
tell you what, there's meat in my Brownlow tracker. So let's get straight into it. Jordan Dawson. This is, look at that. That is one vote between the top 5. Dawson, Caleb Sarong, Dacos. I've given 3, maybe. I think the umpires look at that and give him 3. The other Darcy Cameron is the one that could
that's
get
the
the
one.
2 or the 3. Yeah, spit it out,
They
Nathan.
don't give away.
Bailey Smith and Noah Anderson, losing team, but 42 disposals, you have to get it. And then nobody here, nobody voted. So it is the top 5 at the moment, very close together.
So round table right now, we have to make a bet this very second. Who would you be going with?
This very second, I am going to go with Caleb Sarong.
Oh, nice. Value considered with that.
I'm sticking with Noah Anderson. I said him probably a month ago when he was about $26, and I like what he's done the last few weeks. I think Gold Coast, they're going to have to play well to make the top 8 now. I think he's the one that will continue to poll votes if they do keep playing to their potential.
Value considered, I'm with Brownie. I'll go with Sarong right now. Sarong,
yeah.
Sarong.
Also, there's also going to be value on these guys as it goes on, especially in the top 10 market, top 20 market, which is one of the best things about the Brownlow betting.
You can multi them when you get to
You can multi them. It is,
And the individual round votes as well. That's
it is the greatest betting event of the sporting calendar. I think State of Origin's very fun in the NRL.
Melbourne Cup Day's pretty good. Melbourne Cup Day's pretty good as well.
So is Melbourne Cup Day. The most punted on player for round 15 was Bailey Smith as well, both at 25 plus and 30 plus punters getting rewarded.
Absolutely. So why wouldn't you play on him? So, but the 25 plus mark, he'd be $1.08 at the moment to get there.
Still meat on the bone.
Meat on the bone, do it, Felix. Absolutely. But let's have a look at the who's hot and who's not, because who's hot at the moment? Callum Mills coming back in, playing some nice footy through the middle. Jarman Impey had him in there last week, but they had the bye. Aaron Cadman, 4 of his last 5, and Callum Brown, the fastest man in the universe, according to Stevie J, 5 of the last 6. But who's not? Who are the players that you need to be off at the moment? So Jack Higgins, there's no value at 1+ goal. There's a small value at 2+, but he hasn't kicked it. Lockie Neal, none of his last 4. Zach Merritt, none of his last 4. And Felix von Hoff, in terms of punting. Sam Darcy at 3 goals, he got it. But the other 14, no good.
You know the worst part is, I'm so spaced out that I just watched that. I was looking at it going, geez, you'd hate to be on that list.
I picked it up early. No one knew what I was laughing at.
Oh, my God. Tell you what, I think $1.70, that's still meat on the bone. I think reverting back to that. $1.14. $1.67. If we're talking,
bad, hey, Brownie?
It's a market that you can chuck into your futures markets as well. You can go Cameron Coleman. Who's going to win the EPL?
Oh, Liverpool this year. Florian
Liverpool
Wirtz,
again.
The German.
So
120 million they just dropped on him.
There we go. Well, Sam Darcy probably around the same sort of pay packet is what he deserves. Right now, someone who's probably on the same sort of money, Daniel Hoyne. Let's welcome him in.
40, 40, 40, 40, 40, 40.
Welcome in, Daniel Hoyne. Now, straight off the top, I want to get straight to it. Joel Amati, the lowest ranked champion data ratings, whatever you want to call it, in the history of your great company. How does that come about? Because there's some conjecture online. Of course, he went 0 for 6, 3 of them, I believe, not making the required distance. But he still took a whole lot of marks inside 50, and there's a lot of attributes there would have said he was all right, but the worst ever, according to you.
Yeah, so accuracy plays a significant part in our rating system, both in a positive sense if you shoot the light out, but then if you have a really bad day in front of goal, you are going to get significantly pinged. Fair to say 8 shots a goal for 0 goals is a bad day in front of goal. So, yeah, the lowest rated game in our history of our rating system, which is since 2010. For Joel, and that is purely why the rating system penalises inaccuracy significantly.
I think we've missed an opportunity here, Sportsbet as a company. I think we should offer a market for somebody who kicks 0 goals 6 as an anytime goal scorer, but really bump up the price. You can take the 0-6, but you get a big price if they do it. I think we've missed an opportunity. Yeah. It's marketing genius from me. Yeah. Did you see Noah Bolter's game on the weekend, though?
Joel Amati didn't hope the champion dinosaur.
Okay, let's jump back into clubland. Right now, let's take a stock take. Who are the leaders for the Premiership?
Yeah, so we thought with 9 games to go until the final series kicks off, we're just going to do a quick audit on 3 key areas of the game just to see the top 3 teams in each of those areas. And we'll start with the turnover game, which we've spoken about at length on this show. 18 of the last 19 premiers have set top 3 in this area of the game. You can pretty much say with a lot of confidence that Collingwood and Adelaide at 1 and 2 are probably going to be in that top 3 at the end of the year. They are a long way clear of the 3rd place team. Geelong are there at 3 at the moment, but the gap between Geelong, Brisbane, the Dogs, Hawthorn and Giants is all really tight, but the gap between Collingwood and Adelaide, pretty significant. So good signs there if you're a Collingwood or Adelaide supporter. The clearance game, 1, 2 and 3 in terms of points differential from clearance, this is where the Dogs go to work. That is their point of difference on the competition. That's why they're a threat, and that's why they're going to challenge you each and every week with that midfield that they've got. Likewise with Gold Coast, and again you see Geelong in there in the top 3. So they're the only team top 3 in both the turnover game and clearance side of things. And then the last aspect that we want to talk about is your ball movement game from defensive 50. So again, the Dogs offensively, number one in the competition in terms of being able to go one end of the ground to the other. Carlton, that has not been their issue all year. Number two, when they get it inside 50, that's their issue. They just completely fall apart. Yeah, they completely fall apart. But getting in there is not their issue. And again, Geelong, third. So they are top three in all those three areas. The reason why we talk about that ball movement game just been so important. If you think about come September against the best teams in the competition, the reality is that at some stage in a final series, you're going to have the game against you. And your ability to be able to get out when the game's against you is so important. If you can't get out against the best teams in the competition and then just get trapped in a final series, you're in big trouble. So the interesting one in the ball movement game there, who's not there, is Collingwood, 13th. Have been able to go from one end of the ground to the other. So that's not their game. They're prepared to go a little bit slower, a little bit wider, get a stoppage and start again, whereas a couple of other teams are prepared to take it on, go through corridor and go from one end of the ground to the other.
We've been talking about Carlton having poor ball movement, but it's not really the case. Their ball movement's okay from the defensive end. So what happens when they get to 50? What happens?
Spot on. They just lose their mind. So their ability to be able to get to that attacking midfield area, 50 to 70 out, has never been a problem all year for them. But I think we can all see that when they get to that area of the ground, they have that composure, and then it just completely just falls apart. Where either they're Charlie, focused, Mackay focused, and they just simply just lose their heads. That's why
they launch from so far out as well. They launch from 70 more times than most other teams. So the kick has to be long and high to get it there, which invites the defenders to come across and spoil. You've got too many teams now that play such a good help out defence or help side defence that just come across and spoil the ball because their ball use from 70 to 50, they don't look for that extra disposal to then launch. They just go for broke and try and get it in there as quick as they can.
And I just wonder whether or not it's a little bit of that old mindset of what footy was like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, for that 10-year period of let's just get it in there. Let's just get it in there and lock it in our forward half. The game's changed from that. It's not just an all-out territory, get it inside forward 50, which, at times Carlton have been that team this year.
These are the key areas that dictate likely Premiership success. Just quickly, who's the best team you've seen over the last 10 or 15 years in all these areas?
You say that with a good smile on your face.
Just curious.
So, no, they're clearly the best profile in my time. I've been at champion for 20 years. The best profile we've seen was 2022 Geelong.
I was key.
Did you know that?
Yeah, so I was integral to the functioning of that team.
Yeah.
Big Reggie was.
Well done. Kick-in's very highly rated according to champion data as well. Luke Jackson is about to make himself a whole lot of money.
Yeah, he is. He's absolutely flying at the moment. Currently the second best player in the competition behind our man Ed Richards, that we spoke about last week on this show. And when he actually goes in and plays ruck minutes, as a ruckman, he is miles ahead of any other ruckman in the competition for the impact that he has on the game when playing as a pure ruck. In our 15 years of this rating system, only Nick Natanui has had better seasons when playing ruck minutes than what Luke Jackson is currently doing at the moment. So I guess it's probably just a two-part question to you guys. Like right now, I would have thought a lot of the conversations just around Cherry, perhaps Gawn, De Koning, and maybe even Darcy Cameron for that All-Australian ruck position. There's 9 games left for this guy to absolutely charge and actually, be front of mind in that conversation. But then bigger picture-wise for Fremantle, Sean Darcy gets managed on the weekend. They clearly want him in the team. I don't know, when you look at what this guy's doing as a pure ruckman in the competition, clearly having the most impact of any ruck, what do you do in that situation?
Yeah, well, they've been much improved in the past 6 weeks, and I don't think that's any surprise that that's the time where Luke Jackson has come in and taken that number one mantle back. He's rucked, when he hasn't, he's played on ball as well. I think the options for them are this. They either play Darcy and play him solely as a second ruck, so he spends a fair bit of time either sitting forward or on the bench, and he's there to pinch hit when Jackson is having his rest, or they don't play him at all and he plays in the twos and they look to someone else to take that second ruck role. Because for me, Luke Jackson, the past 6 weeks, if you're picking the All-Australian team based around those 6 weeks, he is the starting ruck. Obviously, the season isn't just that window. He's been sort of working into form for a little bit now, but I'm really interested to see in the back half of this season, if he continues this, it creates genuine headaches for the selectors at the All-Australian table as to who gets that ruck role.
Freo, they've gotten this wrong. that this double ruck does not work, especially when you're sinking such a large chunk of your salary cap into 2 players, one of whom you could argue should be playing back up now. It doesn't work. We've seen it with Gawn and Grundy. You have one superstar ruckman, just let him play.
What are you going to do?
One of them's gone at the end of the year. Probably Jackson is one that seems like he wants to leave. I think he's the better player.
Who would you get rid of?
Who would I get rid of? I'd get rid of Darcy if I had the choice, but I think Jackson will leave.
I like it. Strong.
You're two about to fight down there. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Tell you, Colby McKercher, 100% defence over the last 6 weeks, flying.
Yeah, so he is. And I'm always really interested in what teams do when they actually have their bye and their ability to be able to reset your footy program over a 2-week period. And this guy, up until their bye, had played 3% of his game time down back. Post-bye, last 3 weeks, he's played 100% game time back. And now what he is doing over this whole 6-week period is inside the top 25 players in the competition. And I was absolutely flabbergasted on Saturday sitting there, and Alex Chincotta goes straight to Caleb Daniel for the first day. And you're sitting there watching it. What are you doing? Well, have you not been watching what this guy does?
Get the horn dog in the coach's box.
And this guy
Get me in there.
This guy has 29 disposals and kicks 2 goals.
Yeah.
Like that. Modern day footy is about how you use the footy, and we've spoken about that on this show at length. How you use it, not how you win it. And what this guy does with ball in hand across the half-back flank. It's not Caleb Daniel. It's this guy is the one for North Melbourne that is critical to their ball movement game and their offensive game. So just a bit of recognition to him and to Clarkson for actually moving him down back. But if you're an opposition team, please don't go after Caleb Daniel again.
Subtly sacked Moss in that as well.
Would you sack Clarko if it was your decision?
No, I like Clarko. It's a 4-time premiership.
It sounded like you're a bit...
No, he's sacking Michael Voss.
Oh, Voss.
Not too bad.
No, we knew what you meant, mate.
Tell you what, Daniel Horn, you've come in underdressed, but you've overperformed. Fantastic work from you. We'll see you in a moment. Quick hands up next. Here we go, time for quick hands, all the hot topics after round 15. And what about this one? I think this is a really special one. We need an award for a Defensive Player of the Year. Long overdue, if you ask me.
Well, there's been
They
talk.
do that on the bounce?
Yeah, there's been talk that they're going to bring
golden
it
fist?
AFL one.
Right, it is the AFL show, the bounce.
As I was saying, there's been talk that they were going to bring it in as of next year. So it's sounding like it's actually going to get up, that they're going to have a Defensive Player of the Year. My concern with it, there are that many different types of defenders in the game right now. You have players that genuinely defend one-on-one. You have players that will take an easier opponent so that they're intercept defenders. You have players that are run-off half-back players.
Bailey Dale.
How on earth do you decide who is the best Defensive Player of the Year?
It's got to be defensive actions, least goals scored against by your opponent, or even you could even throw Tigers into it.
It's the reverse Coleman, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the player that keeps the one-on-one least amount of
So
goals
it's a key
for the
defender
year.
award.
Yeah.
So what if you take an easy forward each week, or the third best forward each week, to come across an intercept? So say a Harris Andrews, so that's Jack Payne or Darcy Gardner.
And then he comes Harris across. Andrews now.
Oh, I think it's quite well known that he takes the lesser forward so that he can
Lucky
come
for
across. But
it's just the same with the
how do you
Coleman
determine
when
that?
Charlie Curnow a couple of seasons ago kicked 10 twice against Carlton, or Tex Walker kicked 10. So
against West Coast,
swings and roundabouts. But I see your point, and I didn't really think about that, but it is a very good point.
Surprise. Are we biting on the price? All-Australian defender Desire Wanganeen Miller.
I think he's in there at the moment. I think one of the half-back flanks is his.
$1.67.
meat on the bone.
Meat on the bone.
Meat on the bone. He needs to keep that. The other one, I reckon, would be Bailey Dale at the moment. I think the 2 Gold Coast boys have dropped off.
Michael Voss, will he be coaching in 2026?
Well, if he is, there'll be a whole group of assistants that are new under him. If he is not, they will sort of stick with some of that structure. I think that's the decision that they'd be heading in. Obviously, there's talk about Graham Wright coming in and him being the one that is an agent of change when he does come into clubs. So I think they either stick with Bossy and put some structures in place to help support him a little bit better with his tactical stuff, or they cut their losses with Bossy.
He's contracted, so I think he will be there.
So you think they're not going to cut their losses on that one?
No.
It's the Dimmer Hardwick, all new assistant coaches, and see if that revitalises the team. Next word.
If they were to make a change, and I know you just brought up a name, but if they were to make a wholesale change, is John Longmire a name they would potentially go after as probably the best coach free agent on the market?
I don't think so. I think if they did make change and they were looking for someone, I think the man is Adam Simpson, but I don't think they'll make a change. I think Michael Voss will be there. He's contracted.
Big one. I thought they were going to make a change the next couple of weeks.
The other
That's
thing,
the way it was heading.
though, 2017 he's contracted to. Tasmania will have started to make a fair few moves on who they want as their coach by that time as well. So if they want the best available on the market, you think they have to make a move before that, because Tassie will get the best available if they move first.
The Blues floundering at the moment. We're taking them against Port Adelaide this week.
Port Adelaide seem to need a big occasion to play. I'm not sure this is a big enough occasion for them to show up, but Carlton are just unbackably inconsistent. I will go with them because I did play for them and I played very well, it must be said, while I was there. So I do have a soft spot for the Blues, but far out, they're not very good at footy.
Which is a fairly big factor in the season, isn't it?
Simply put, beautiful.
You know what my thing is? My big takeaway from the weekend
is
was
your
the
thing?
whiteout that they did at GMHBA. Look, now I love the concept. I just think when you look at it, there were people complaining that shirts have been taken off seats before them. I think the AFL's a tough one to do it because players and fans, not players, but fans leave to go to the bar and do other things. They're not in their seats the entire time. I'm starting to think that maybe it's just a thing for an indoor
I was there
sport.
for it. I hope they persist with it. It was a great atmosphere.
I agree. Change is good and we want to see more of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in. You can catch everyone here on the feed.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.